Let me begin in English, just a few sentences. Dear friends, I warmly welcome the participants of the seminar, especially my fellow mayors who, along with me, experienced the worst times of this utility crisis, unfortunately, often without receiving any help. So that I hope that this conference will deliver us real help in order to our survival. And let me switch to Hungary. Mindenkit szeretettel köszöntök.
I'd like to welcome you. So this will be a co-referat or a case study from IED, because I'd like to show you the example of IED, and it will give you a picture about this utility crisis. Well, this is the biggest town in County Pest, and this is the 10th biggest town in Hungary, but we have a very weak economy. We have low tax incomes from economic players, and the crisis hit us in this situation. And in 2019 we had municipal elections for the last time, and in this period we have lived through a permanent crisis management. When we were elected, we were confronted with the COVID pandemic, and since March 2020, so we had to deal with it. After that, we had the Russian aggression against Ukraine, and many Ukrainian refugees arrived to us. So this was a real cut in the budget of the town, and we thought that we would go bankrupt if God, the state, or the European Union will not help us. And the original forecasts were so that we calculated all utility costs of the town. So it was 700 million forints per year, and we had to multiply it 5 times. Attila Holoda talked in the beginning that in autumn 2023 energy prices increased by 20%, and this 700 million would be now more than 3 billion. So we were told that a bankruptcy would meet us, and we approved austerity measures, and we had to close some factories, and we had a swimming hall we had to close, and it's still closed because an old technology was used it, and it consumed a lot of energy. And then we had the big swimming hall we have still open, and our culture center had to be closed because district heating became very expensive. And then the government nominated a commissioner for energy questions. And the point was if our utility costs could be replaced someone. And many municipalities could survive the crisis, but we really had to do everything to save IED, to save our town from bankruptcy. And we are the youngest town in Hungary. We have an average age of 30-35 years, and we wanted to save our young population. So no kindergarten, no crash was closed. But at the same time, we still had to deal with the COVID pandemic. And we had less income from taxes. So we were confronted with the situation that we cannot finance utility costs. Practicing mayors know where we have meters in the town, and we had to map the meters in the town. I didn't know, my predecessors didn't know, in 400, and we had to make a system. We had to analyze the contracts, but we had to do this. Well, district heating was a problem. District heating was important for us because we have a residential area, and the crashes and the kindergartens are connected with that. And district heating increased by more than 40%. And we had to close these institutions. Well, I tried to look for alternative solutions, and the town hall used to be heated by gas. So what about it? Well, we modernized heating, but we have our own oven. And I asked my colleagues who operated this heating, and we had from Felcsút Lőrinc Mészáros, who made the heating system, and we almost turned to him for help. But then from the beginning of January, district heating costs decreased dramatically. And now the utility crisis decreased. Well, we have 13 kindergartens. I chose one, Sunshine Kindergarten, and this is a good example. Well, the electricity bill was 44,000 forint in May, in the last year of peace, and in July 2022 it was 119,000, and in October 2022 it was 200,000 forints. And the same is true for gas prices. They increased 4.5 times until 2020 July, so we calculate the costs every year. In 2021 it was 1.5 million, in 2022 it was 5 million. But we have to add that these increases must be seen in a different way, because we introduced austerity measures, and all institution leaders had to identify the most optimal solution, where we could not reduce heating below 20 degrees, but we tried it in the town hall. But we needed energy experts, because we had rooms where our colleagues were freezing, and we had to switch on air condition in an inverse way so that they heated. And we lost money. But before Christmas, well, it was clear before Christmas last year that we would get assistance, help from the state, 265 million, but it did not cover our costs because the cost increase was much higher. Well, if we have a look at the year 2023, so we could see better tendencies, and it was not 5 times as high as earlier, but it doubled. Well, the utility costs have doubled with austerity measures, with closed institutions, the culture center, 2 swimming halls, and we introduced austerity measures in every area. But almost everything doubled, and it was a good situation, because we reduced our consumption from 115 joules to 40. So this is really austerity. And so this was our responsibility. And another huge problem was catering, because many public catering, cafeteria, and the costs of catering are the highest post in our budget. Everything is connected with utility costs, and even food prices increased. And we had a huge inflation and prices skyrocketed. So it was a post of 700 millions public catering. And in 2023, it will reach 2.5 billion. Well, it means that 3 actors pay. The state pays now 770 millions, and the parents pay 1/3 in kindergartens, and half of the parents pay for catering in schools, and the rest is covered by the municipality. So we had to find this money, 1.5 billion. But it's a huge price, because we don't have any investments. We have no internal development. We can only participate in tenders because financing catering, financing heating took away all money. And this is brutal. And we got help from another institution because our biggest energy consumer is an arena. And we were not used to negotiate with CEOs of energy firms, but we were in a time when I personally had to negotiate how we can manage the transition to the free market. So there was a company which could buy at the stock exchange in the Netherlands, reach less expensive gas. Well, we didn't know how much money we would get from the state. If the utility bill will be 5 times higher, but I had to decide if I close a contract with this energy company or to close all swimming pools. And we had very good negotiations. And the company made a contract for 1 month. And that was a good thing in October. And we were able to finance it. And we got the government's help, and it was easier. And I went to State Secretary Schmidt, and they had a program of saving indoor swimming pools, and we got 40 million forints, and it was enough to finance the big indoor swimming pool. So we were lucky in this case. But up to this very day, we are not able to open the new indoor swimming pool, and it's waiting for children. I think we will do anything that we can open this indoor swimming pool, but the utility crisis had the consequence that in Erd from May until September we had to take loans. This is a liquid loan with the bank, which is financing the town, and we have to pay it back, of course, at the end of the year. And we lived from this loan, and we cannot dream of our investments. And I had in 1 month minus 500 million, then minus 800 million, but there was a spiritual frontier. Well, we exceeded 1 billion, and this is not a good thing for a mayor, because we don't know if we will be able to finance it. And we are in plus now, 190 million forint. We are still living with the crisis, and it is very tough for Hungarian towns because we lack of opportunities. Well, we cannot construct playgrounds, roads. We are forced to take austerity measures in voluntary works, and we had to delete the IED picnic, 40 million forints, if we cannot pay this money back. So we are bankrupt. And I go to the Minister of Finances to ask for money. And he will ask me, what did you do in order to avoid insolvency in the town? And utility crisis caused horroristic decisions and forced mayors to take these horrible decisions. Well, I have to tell you that we had to analyze if we could invest in projects, because energy efficiency should be guaranteed. Well, what does it mean? I invest so that the bills at the end of the month decrease. Well, we had solar panel project, and they can only modestly contribute to operate a town and to reduce operating costs. Well, the most important help for us would be if the government agrees with Brussels in terms of RRF or from the normal budget, because we should get money from Brussels. A last example to illustrate it. Well, we constructed a residence for elderly people from 3 billion forints, and we used heat pumps. But solar panels were forgotten, because a good solution requires both. And we have a monthly electricity bill of 5 million forints. Well, we must develop solar energy production. Well, I could go on with geothermic energy. So we have thermal, water. Well, I went to Veresegyháza to my colleague Béla Pásztor, but huge amounts of resources are needed to finance a geothermic power plant. Without government help, without European money, we cannot invest in developments which could reduce this deficit of 1.6 million under 1 billion. Well, and this was the utility crisis. I hope that I could make you feel how big the problems for different municipalities were. Well, we were on average, but we were confronted with huge difficulties, and it's not finished yet. Thank you very much for your attention.